Hi, it's Sharon Christie, founder and CEO of Bold Women Lawyers. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here today. Bold Women Lawyers is where I help women attorneys in solo and small firm practices to get a steady stream of great clients, to skyrocket cash flow, and to love their practices again. Today, I am so excited. I have a wonderful guest with us. Rita Goodroe. I've known Rita probably for about a year or so, maybe a little longer now. I really resonated with her right away, and I am thrilled to have her. So I'm going to bring her up, and we're going to learn all about her and the work that she does.
Hi.
Hey, Rita.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm excited to be here today.
Good. Well, I'm very happy to have you. And I can't wait to jump in because you have a really interesting background. So I will tell our listeners that Rita started as a lawyer, and I'm going to let her tell her story from there. So she started as a lawyer. She did that for a while, and then she moved into some other things. So let's start, Rita, with your work as a lawyer. Tell us a little bit about what you did, what kind of practice you had.
Yeah. So I went to law school with the hopes of becoming like an intellectual property law attorney. So I went to Chicago Kent College of Law. They had like a certificate program. As you know, there are no majors, right? But like a certificate program. And I got certified in intellectual property law. I was like working at a law firm during law school, doing IP, like legal assistant type work. And I really loved it. That's what I was going to do. But then I moved from Chicago to Virginia to take the bar exam. And there was just no IP work in Virginia. I mean, you would think with the trademark office but if you couldn't sit for the patent bar, forget about it. They didn't want to talk to you, right? So I ended up going like a contract attorney position with the Department of Justice in their asset forfeiture division. And then from there, because I was only a contract attorney, I couldn't actually sign documents or do anything like that.
Right.
I had been all through high school. I had worked as a legal secretary after school for like 2 hours every day. I'd worked as a legal secretary in high school. And the attorney convinced me to come and work for his firm as like a general practitioner. So basically a solo lawyer. We like all kind of like associated together to share expenses, but we didn't share any revenue. And so it was solo lawyering. And I said, okay, because I was ready to go into court and try. So I jumped into the law as a general practice attorney, which is what I did for, I did that for like 3-4 years as a general practice attorney, maybe a little more, about 3 years. So general practice attorney doing the solo thing before I realized I had no business going into law for myself that young. And as like my first real thing out of law school, I didn't know what I was doing back then.
And let me ask you about that, because general practice is really tough. I always wonder, like, how could you possibly keep up with all of the areas of law in what we would consider a general practice?
Spoiler alert. You can't do it, right? No, I thought it was good because in my mind, well, number one, I was going to be working alongside attorneys that I had really, I'd known, right? I enjoyed them. And so, but then it was like, well, I could try a little bit of every kind of law, right? To figure out what I really liked, because I didn't really know what I liked. I mean, I was working asset forfeiture law in the Department of Justice. That's so very nuanced. And like it had nothing to do with real life law. And so I had no idea what I love. What would I love? What would I not love? If it wasn't going to be IP, like what would I love? And so I thought this was a way to try a little bit of everything. What you learn is that general practice firms really attract certain kinds of cases more than others, but still it was like, and I would say it was a good way to start. Like it really was, because it taught me very quickly what I did not like to do as very quickly, right? So I took on traffic cases. I took on like divorces, right? Family
Mhm.
law matters. I had a little bit of estates and trust. And of course, I was lucky that I got to work alongside of like attorneys who have been doing this for a while. So it wasn't like I was just trying to draft a will on my own or anything.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I had some templates and some guidance and some things like that. But I really did try every kind of law. The problem was I had no idea how to get business back then. I
Yeah.
didn't know what I was doing I really thought it was there's just a name on a door, a shingle or whatever, and people just need attorneys, and that's what they do.
And they come,
They
right?
just come through the door. They look for their attorneys and they just come through the door. And then I realized very quickly, yeah, that even with a situation where we did kind of rotate like people who would come without a attorney in mind, but even then, like that was, and then right to get the client once the client came through the door. So like finding them, that was a whole other can of worms that I was not ready for yet. It was too overwhelming to do that and try to learn all the law, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it was a lot. So I did love being a general practice attorney, but here's the thing. I wasn't really good at any one kind of law when I was doing all the laws because I couldn't be really great at any one, which is okay if you really love taking basic kind of uncontested divorces and maybe like a speeding ticket case and whatever, like a basic will. Like you can get by doing that, but you're never going to be like the expert in any one area at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're not going to thrive doing that either.
It's a lot. It's just a lot because it's hard to find the clients. It's hard to get the clients that would actually pay a good amount because they want you to be an expert in the thing that they're hiring you for.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what happened next? You're in general practice.
Then I went into debt. And then I went into debt. Not like I wasn't already in debt from law school, but now, right, not getting the clients, like not really, it was the business side of things at that moment. I mean, I was 20, I was like fresh out of law school still. I'd only worked at the DOJ for like 2 years. Like it was still all relatively new, right? And here I was like having to pay office rent and having to pay for like expenses and like not knowing how to really get the clients in, and then having to figure out like self-employment taxes and insurance and all of, and I wasn't married, and it was just like, it was a lot. And that started kind of crumbling very quickly. But what I had done very early on, so I worked at the general practice firm for a few years, but like for probably about 3 years. So 2 years at the DOJ, 3 years at general practice. And what I did really quickly about the first year in, as I learned, I did not like every kind of law. I just didn't like it. I wasn't going to be good at it. Some made me cry for days, like custody cases. There were just some I was not cut out for. But I found out that I was really good at landlord tenant law. I took like a basic eviction case, and I liked, there was something about the system, the process. There were steps. You knew exactly what you had to file, when you had to file it, what you had to do. Was very structured, very orderly. I very much liked it. And I became kind of in the area, the go-to like landlord lawyer. When I argued a certain case, and the judge loved it. And so suddenly I just started doing residential landlord, mainly landlord tenant law. But our law firm also had a title company associated with it. And so all of a sudden they were asking if I could like be the closing attorney. So I started learning more about real estate, and I liked it. And then I met an attorney who hired me to do commercial real estate law, because I had done a little bit of commercial through the firm as well, right? So I really did a lot of residential. Every now and then a restaurant near us or something would come to us for leasing, and I really liked what I was learning and in all the continuing legal. And so I really kind of doubled down on that. And so when I was asked, hey, do I really want to transition over to commercial real estate? That's when I said yes. I knew that was going to be the difference for my career. So I left general practice and really niched down into commercial real estate.
So at that point, now you really are focused and you're specialized, and you've focused your career, which is great.
Yeah, great. What
difference did that make for you?
well, I was able to get really good at what I did because I was able, excuse me, I was able to really learn how to help the people that I was helping, right? I knew the minute that you go narrow in an audience, you're able to really know them. You know their fears, you know their worries, you can anticipate things before they happen. You can really advise instead of just like clean up messes on the back end because you learn the industry, you learn the ins and outs, you learn your client well. Like you just know so much, you know where to be to meet them, to like get more business. You can really focus your education and your training to really excel at what you're doing. And so I really did learn a lot about mainly it was like shopping centers and development of shopping centers and a few office leases and it was like a whole new world, all terminology, but like what I realized very quickly is if I had just been a general practitioner, I would have been doing a very big disservice, at least I think for me personally, to any clients if they had hired me to do that same thing, because I wouldn't have known all the really specific stuff that you have to know by being in the industry, right?
And you said something really important about once you learned that area and you learned it so well, you could advise clients, not just clean up their messes. And that's huge because a lawyer, should be a counselor and an advisor. And certainly we have to come in and clean up messes, but it's so much better for clients if you are an expert in that area and you can advise so they can avoid all these messes down the road. That's huge.
100%. So like it really helped me stand out too. It really helped me so then what happened though was that I took that job. It was another small firm and I took the job and I'm glad I did because I got a lot of experience in like a year and a half, but it was right when the economy, it was back in 2007, when the economy came to a crashing halt. And I mean, it was huge. It was like the first time that it happened. And like the commercial real estate sector just froze. I mean, you couldn't get construction loans. You couldn't get tenants weren't signing leases. They were defaulting on leases. You couldn't fill a shopping center. So that firm very quickly was like, we can't keep you on. I have to go back to being a solo lawyer, basically is what it was like for that firm. And they actually then pivoted back out to like take bankruptcy and a lot of other types of cases because that's how bad but because I had that training, I was able to then go and secure a job in-house for a Fortune 500 company, which is where I lived out my days, until I retired basically from lawyering. In-house, but the only reason that company would even look at me, right, that Fortune 500 company would look at me was because I had specific experience only in that industry and field that they wanted. They were not looking for someone who would have been a general practitioner or spread them. Like they purposefully made sure to tell me, we love that you were only doing this and that you have a real appreciation and understanding because we're looking to hire an expert. Right. And that's how they saw me because of narrowing and doing less, in that one, they saw me as an expert.
Exactly. And for them, hiring you, they don't have to bring you up a learning curve. You're already there. So that's a huge bonus for them. Okay. Yeah. So you did that, I know. I think you told me 13 years or so.
Yeah, total from the start all the way to the finish, right? 13 years. And then it was
and then what happened?
Then I went into my company that day, and it's never good when they say, let's have an all hands meeting. And it was another time of the economy. It was another kind of pivot, but this was a little different. What they had decided to do was outsource the entire corporate real estate department to another company. And so here, as all the lawyers out there will get this, I was called in and said, out of 5 attorneys that we have in this department, we're keeping 2 and you're one of them. And I was like, oh, woo, that's great. And then they're like, yeah, but you're not really an attorney for us anymore because you're transitioning over to this other company that we're outsourcing to, right? You're going to be an employee of theirs, but you're not an attorney for them because you're on contract with us. You're not actually counsel for that company. And I did they're like, so we're going to change your title to legal compliance manager. And here's the checklist. And this is just what you do. And I remember saying, I know, I quit. I can't do it. can't do it. Won't do it. And they were like, well, then it doesn't make any sense to transition you over to this new company. And I was like, no, it doesn't. And I ended up leaving, right? I ended up leaving. That's when I decided to now simultaneously with that, as a person, a human in the world, I had been running a singles group, and I did a crazy thing where I went on 35 dates in 35 days. And so I had become, in my personal life, known as like a dating expert, an expert around single and dating. And so people had started asking me, because of this blog and the singles group I ran, to date coach them. And I played around with that as a hobby. So when I left the law, I decided, you know what, if there was ever a time to see if this could work, because I was good at what I did as a lawyer, I didn't love it. And I will tell you that I think a lot of that had to do with how I went through the beginning stages of my legal career. I really think if I had done that differently, I wouldn't have been as burned out, and I would have loved the law more. But it is what it is, and I ended up where I am, and I'm very happy for it. But like, I left the law and did date coaching, and then that built very quickly. That business actually built very fast, and people started asking me how I had done it, and I started really analyzing that and mentoring people on what I did. And over the course of time, I ended up transitioning into business coaching, which is what I've been doing for 8 years now, 7 years.
And in your work as a business coach, do you have a specific niche? I say niche. I know people say niche. That's not what I say.
niche, whatever.
Niche,
it's
whatever.
Like, so
whatever.
here's so yes, and right, like, I think it's more, and the clarification I like to make, right, is you have a target market and you have a niche, right? So like, your target market is your who, and your niche is your what. Like, what do you help people do, right? The combination of those two things is really powerful if you narrow it, right? So the who are entrepreneurs, but mainly solo entrepreneurs. So people who do not have any employees, and also mainly, not, when I say internet-based businesses, I just mean people who don't have a brick and mortar business. So they're service-based, they don't have brick and mortar, and they are on their own. They might have a virtual assistant or something like that, but like, they do not have any team, any desire really to grow a team, and they're trying to get to their first 6 figures. So that's the what. What do I really help people do? I help people hit their first 6 figures, and then I help people scale into 7 figures once they've hit the 6 figures. Those are 2 different audiences that need 2 different things, but still, for the most part, it's the same. They're still solo. They're on their own. They don't really have a team. They might have, at that point, the higher point, a few employees, but they don't have the desire to go get a brick and mortar office and open. They want to render their services from wherever they want to render their services from. And so that's kind of the business model that I help.
Now, let me go back for a second to what you said about, that in this path, you didn't love being a lawyer, but you think it would have been different if your journey from the start had been different. So is it because of the need for mentoring, or the need for learning how to run a business, or both?
All of it.
All of the above.
You don't learn how to practice law in law school. Everybody knows that, which is like weird for people to hear, right? You learn the theory behind the law, but you don't learn, except a few classes, how to actually do the actual law. So having a good mentor, and having good mentors that will really help you with that aspect, right? That probably would have kept me from going I don't know that general practice was a good move as a first job, right? But if I had had a right mentor, they probably would have helped me clarify that and like hone in on it. And like, so having a good mentor is important for the practice of law. Having the support to grow the business, that's huge. If you want to run your own firm and not burn out and not go into debt, which is exactly where I ended up way too quickly. So then everything was bad. There was no good association with running my own firm at that moment that I had, because it was just like, oh my God, like at the end, it changed. I narrowed my audience. Then I had a mentor. in that area. And then I doubled up. Then I had the rates. I really felt like I could charge the rates I wanted in order. And I was attracting clients through referral right there towards the end of my general practice, because I wasn't really general practice anymore. I was a real estate attorney at that moment in time. So that really is what transitioned everything. But for the first half, oh my gosh, it just was chaotic. I felt like I had to hustle for clients all the time. I didn't know where to go or what to do. I was like crying all the time. I was more worried about like being able to pay the bills. And then when I couldn't pay the bills, I would like make bad decisions in the business. I didn't know what I was an expert on. I didn't know how to market myself. I didn't know how to sign I didn't know how to convert a client. I didn't know how to get people to say, I didn't know how to overcome objection. I didn't know any of that, right? But if I had someone to help me with that, and if I had known that that was even a thing that I could have help with, then that would have been a huge game changer for me.
I think that's the situation that many attorneys find themselves in. They want to help people. They want to do good work. There's any number of reasons why people end up in a solo firm or a small firm. And when I say small, I know the way the legal profession defines it is like I read recently, less than 50 lawyers. I'm like, what? I'm talking about, 2 or 3 lawyers.
Lawyers, yeah.
Really, a small firm. But there's a big gap there. As you said, in law school, you learn the theory of the law. You don't learn how to actually practice. You learn that hopefully with a good mentor once you get out. But you learn nothing about the business of law, how to run a business. And but as I've said before to people, they're critical of law schools for not doing that. I understand the criticism, but I said, would you honestly have listened? You're so concerned when you're in law school about learning the law itself,
right?
And you pay no attention.
And I think, again, I don't want to go to a law school that's going to teach me a little bit of everything. I would go to a law school to learn the law, be able to pass the bar, be able to do all of that. Then I would go somewhere else to learn the aspect. It's kind of like you as a lawyer, right? You're not supposed to be an expert in running a business. You're supposed to be an expert in the law. You go seek support and advice and counsel in many other areas so you can run a business and run it well. But you're not supposed to inherently know all of the things at one time. So I wouldn't want a law school to have all of those things. Plus, it wouldn't have made sense to me. I might have learned it and I might have listened, but without doing it and like having someone to talk to as you're navigating through everything that's happening, it doesn't have the same. Information is only a piece of the puzzle. It's not usually even the information that is the holdback. Yes, that helps, but it's all of the mindset and all of the fear and all of the things that happen during implementing all of the information. That's when you really need someone. Otherwise, you're just gonna like sabotage yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about the business of running a business, because I've said that, people that, and I work with women attorneys, in these smaller practices, but I've said to them and to other people, listen, running a small law firm, it's a service business, and it is different in terms of what you do from your hairstylist. But think about it, it's not a whole lot different from the business aspect of it. Yeah. You have to get clients, you have to get a steady stream of those clients, you have to be able to have business processes to get paid for your services. You have to have a way to keep in touch with clients. You have to have a way, and on and on and on. So the business aspects, they're very different types of businesses, but the actual running of the business is very similar in many ways. So let's just talk a little bit about that, the business of running a small business. You've been doing this for a while, and you experienced it yourself as a lawyer, and you've been coaching for a while. What do you think is one of the biggest mistakes that women in small businesses make as they're trying to get themselves, they might have their business up and running, they're trying to get move forward, what do you see as one of the biggest mistakes they make?
That we try to do it all on our own and we don't ask for help because we think that because they've trained us. The infamous they have trained us to corporate firms mentality, whatever, right? Like that asking for help is bad, that you should like know how to do it or you're showing a sign of weakness, right? I remember this from the big firm that I was like clerking in and kind of like doing all of that. Is like anyone who asked for help, it was like, what, like, why are you like, go figure it out, like you're smart, like go figure this out on your own, don't waste my time, like why are you here like asking this question, right? We should hire somebody who already knows this stuff or whatever. So like it's ingrained very early, like something is wrong if you don't know it, and if you don't know how to do, so we transition that when we're owning our own firm, right? All these things that we're really not supposed to know, and we're not supposed to be experts, because you're not born with a gene to know how to market or sell or use a CRM or whatever, right? Like, but like we feel like, well, I have to be able to figure it out on my own. If I don't figure it out on my own, then I can't admit that, because then that means I'm not a good business owner, and that means that I'm bad and I can't. So we really think that it means something is not right or isn't good or we are less than if we ask for help and support, and we think it makes us look weak, so we don't do it and we try to figure it all out on our own. And when we can't, we just stay stuck, or we give it up, or we do whatever, instead of from the beginning just going and getting that support.
One of the things that people struggle with, women struggle with in their small firms, is getting clients on a consistent basis. Yeah. And I'll have people tell me, I can get clients, but it's sort of hit or miss, and I may have a really great month or a great quarter, but then those cases are over, and now there's nothing coming in the door, and what am I going to do? So, what would you say? What would you think is a good strategy for women in not just law firms, but in general? What do you think is one of the best strategies to be able to consistently bring in good clients?
So I'm gonna kind of answer this without answering it, but also answer it. So your individual strategy really does depend on who you're helping, what you're helping them achieve, what your business goals are, all of that, right? But overall, like pulling the lens back and going like broader, a bigger, broader answer to this is stop just doing what I call marketing for the sale, meaning you are so focused on, I need a client right then, so I'm looking for people who are ready to hire me now. And if they're not ready to hire me now, oh, well, or if they say no to me right now or whatever, oh, well, I guess that means that I just have to go find the next people, right? So what happens is you're not building a pipeline of people that might need you at different times. So instead, you're always like, become aware of me. Do you need me? Okay, no. Okay, now I have to go hustle for new visibility and get new eyes to be aware of me. And then, do you need me? Okay, no. All right, now I need more people to be aware of me, right? And like what happens is it feels like, why is it always like I always have to hustle so hard for clients? It feels like it's not just, why aren't people coming to me? Why aren't people just scheduling consultations and like coming through the door? Why is this so difficult? And what it is you're not marketing to people at different stages. You actually have to start nurturing relationships with most people well before they need you or they realize they need you. So you have to kind of anticipate who is going to be the person that needs me, what is their trajectory, and where would they start? So like, again, an eviction lawyer, that's all I was doing was eviction law, or even leases or something like that.
Right.
Who would need me? Well, if the first time they're learning about me is when they need a lease and it's urgent, or when they need a lawyer, something like that, chances are it's not actually even going to be me they hire, because what happened is way back when they were contemplating buying investment property for the first time, they found some smart lawyer's blog or whatever out there who was advising people on like thinking about buying investment property. Here are like some things to consider, right? And maybe they were putting out some articles around ready to get your first tenant in the door. Like, here are some ways to interview a good tenant, right? Like, so that when the person was having an issue with the tenant, right, they've already built all this trust in this person that they were like reading and learning from. So it would be that person that they would most likely go to hire, right? But they weren't ready for an eviction attorney back then. But it doesn't mean that that you shouldn't put out content for things that you don't actually do, but that would be in the world of the people you help, so that when they realize, oh my God, this is my issue, and oh my goodness, I do need this, and but they already know you, like you, and trust you because they've been consuming your content on things that have given them value well before the time that they need you. So if you can also like meet people where they're at, yes, you're going to be marketing to people who do need you now because you do want clients now, but you have to start nurturing and making relationships with people well before they need you, meaning a lot of the people in your world aren't going to be ready to hire you, but those aren't people that then just get lost. You need to have a way to stay in front of them, give them value, nurture the relationship so that when they need something that you do, you're the person that they go to. And I think that's a mistake most people make. They don't do that part of it. It's either I'm out networking for clients now, and if you aren't ready for me now, oh, well, there's no way to stay in touch with you and nurture all these relationships. You just kind of get lost because I'm so focused on finding new people.
Correct. And nothing could be further from the truth. Yeah. In my practice, which was disability, I had people that I had initially had a contact with 12, 18 months, sometimes longer, before they actually contacted me. But it's exactly what you said. You have to have ways, put in place ways that you are continuing to provide helpful information to these people so that when they're at that point, they say, oh, well, there's really only one person I'm going to call because she knows so much about this.
She knows. I had a client today. She's not a lawyer, but she's a financial advisor. And I had a client today who said, well, out of the blue, I got this call from this person who just wants to hire me. And I'm like, it's not out of the blue. Tell me what happened. She's like, okay, so I actually started talking to this person in August, right? Met them at a networking event. Like we had a conversation or whatever. And then, so then they were consuming her social media content and they were doing it passively for a long time. And then they decided they were ready for her and they called her, right? And I was like, because you met someone, you had a way they could follow you and they could still consume valuable information to them. And then everything aligned and they realized, I need what you do right now. And you were the one that they hired. Like it's always that. So it's like, what am I doing to not lose the attention of people just because they weren't ready to hire me right now?
Right. Exactly. Well, this is all very, very helpful information. And I know that the lawyers who are listening have been helped by it, but also people who are not lawyers, who is part of the community that you serve, certainly are helped by it. And I also know that you have a program coming up. So I wanted to ask you about that because I love the name. I love the name of the program.
Yeah, I need to get that trademark. I need to get that trademark.
Yeah, you need a lawyer.
Here's a big TM. Here's
the
name of the program, TM. I haven't, because I wasn't sure I was going to stick with it, but it's so perfect. So the name of the program is called The Most Important Thing. And it's because I'm always saying, well, here's the most important thing to focus on. Stop doing all these things. Let's just focus on the most important thing. And let's do that. So when it comes to your audience, this is the most important thing. Only do this. When it comes to visibility, this is the most important thing. For only do this until it's working. Then we can do something else. So it's about, I always say, stop going all out, start going all in. Know, like, if you just know the 5 most important foundations, the 5 most important things for your business, every new level of your business, you'll come back to these 5 things. And so it's about knowing them, knowing how to implement them and what to do. So it's all about the most important thing to fill your day with, how to know what actions to fill your day with, the most important thing about how to communicate to your audience so they clearly know that you are an expert for them and that they need what you have. It's the most important thing when it comes to how to package your offer and how to give that in a way that is easy and flows people through working with you. It's the most important thing to build awareness in your business. And it's the most important thing to nurture relationships so that they buy the most important thing that you're selling. And that's it. And it's like, once we learn that and we get that going and that's working like a well-oiled machine, now we can have fun and add some more things, more bells and whistles and all. But that's what the program is. It's really for people who are like, I want to get more clients, I want to make more money, and I want to do it while reclaiming my time, because you already feel overwhelmed. You already feel like you're doing everything. You feel like you don't have any more time to do anything else. And it's not about doing more. It's actually about doing less. It's about focusing on the right things. And when you do that, you can actually get more of a result by putting out less time and effort and seeing a bigger return. And so that's what the most important thing program is, a 12-week program that combines like group coaching and private coaching and really all the support that you need in order to get more clients and make more money and do it in 12 weeks, right? While having a life and being able to live your life. But it's all centered on just these core principles. So you learn them well and implement them and can actually see results over the course of the 12 weeks as well.
That is great. And if anybody that's listening is interested, where can they go to get more information?
Yeah, if you go to ritamademedoit.com. So if you go to my website, ritamademedoit.com, you'll see like the Work With Me tab, and right up at the top is information on the most important things. So you can check it out there. You can always email me at rita@ritamademedoit.com as well and check it out. And I'd love to, I will caveat though, that if you are a lawyer and you really are trying to build your firm, like go to Sharon, and I'll tell you why. Because while yes, running a business is almost the exact same, the legal profession always has and always will have their own ins and outs and their own like rules of professional responsibility, and that I am in no way knowledgeable about at all anymore, nor do I want to be knowledgeable about how you're supposed to maintain your bank accounts or what you're allowed to advertise or market, or what you're not allowed to do. So like, I will say that there is a lot of power in going to someone who is in your industry when you're in a professional industry like law or medicine or whatever. There's a lot of power in going to somebody who knows that industry and how that works. How will you get value from my program? Yes. Like, do I think that you would be better suited being served by Sharon if you're a lawyer? Probably yes. Like, but if you're not a lawyer, or you're like looking for something a little more broad right now and just some business foundation kind of basics, this is a great program to get started.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. And we lawyers do have some odd rules we have to comply with. And we're a little, as a profession, we're a little behind the times, but that's okay. We can work with that. We can work with that.
A lot of, I'm not one of these, but a lot of business coaches out there, I've heard lawyers get frustrated because they're like, I hired this coach and all she kept telling me to do was double my rates. Oh, well, now people are paying that, double your rates. And she's like, she didn't get that at a certain point I would be like out of ethical like compliance if I kept raising my rate. And she just kept saying, I'm like, yeah, see, you can't, it doesn't work for everybody, right? You need somebody who knows your industry. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Rita, it's been great having you here. I always love talking to you, and I wish you all the best with your program, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, that was lovely because Rita is so much fun. And I'm glad y'all were here. Now, I will tell you that if you are a woman attorney in solo or small firm practice and you want some practice tips, go to my website and download my Solo Success Guide. You'll find it right there. Gives you lots of tips about, running your law practice. If you also know that you've got challenges or you've got issues that you're having trouble working through, if you're having problems getting great clients or having a consistent, good cash flow, or just loving your business, then schedule a practice and profit audit with me. Let's take a look at that. Let's, dive down on it, see what's going on, and look at what some options are to help you move your business forward. So it's been great being here, and I will look forward to seeing you next week.